Demography of Australia. For a more comprehensive list, see List of cities in Australia by population. Of each, populated by people, a city can be seen in the horizon. Australia has one of the world's most highly urbanized populations, with a majority living in metropolitan cities on the coast, such as Gold Coast, Queensland. Australia has an average population density of 3.4 persons per square kilometre of total land area, which makes it one of the most sparsely populated countries in the world. The population is heavily concentrated on the east coast, and in particular in the southeastern region between southeast Queensland to the northeast and Adelaide to the southwest. Australia is highly urbanized, with 67% of the population living in the greater capital city statistical areas, metropolitan areas of the state and mainland territorial capital cities in 2018. Metropolitan areas with more than 1 million inhabitants are Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide. In common with many other developed countries, Australia is experiencing a demographic shift towards an older population, with more retirees and fewer people of working age. In 2018, the average age of the Australian population was 38.8 years. In 2015, 2.15% of the Australian population lived overseas, one of the lowest proportions worldwide. Ancestry and immigration to Australia. Australian residents by country of birth. 2016 census. Between 1788 and the Second World War, the vast majority of settlers and immigrants came from the British Isles, principally England, Ireland and Scotland, although there was significant immigration from China and Germany during the 19th century. In the decades immediately following the Second World War, Australia received a large wave of immigration from across Europe, with many more immigrants arriving from Southern and Eastern Europe than in previous decades. Since the end of the White Australia policy in 1973, Australia has pursued an official policy of multiculturalism, and there has been a large and continuing wave of immigration from across the world, with Asia being the largest source of immigrants in the 21st century. Today, Australia has the world's eighth largest immigrant population, with immigrants accounting for 30% of the population, the highest proportion among major Western nations. 160,323 permanent immigrants were admitted to Australia in 2018-2019, excluding refugees, whilst there was a net population gain of 239,600 people from all permanent and temporary immigration in that year. The majority of immigrants are skilled, but the immigration program includes categories for family members and refugees. In 2020, the largest foreign-born populations were those born in England, 3.8%, India, 2.8%, mainland China, 2.5%, New Zealand, 2.2%, the Philippines, 1.2%, and Vietnam, 1.1%. In the 2016 Australian census, the most commonly nominated ancestries were N8, 315, 316, English, 36.1%, Australian, 33.5%, N9, Irish, 11.0%, Scottish, 9.3%, Chinese, 5.6%, Italian, 4.6%, German, 4.5%, Indian, 2.8%, Indigenous, 2.8%, and 10, Greek, 1.8%. Dutch 1.6%, Filipino 1.4%, Vietnamese 1.4%, Lebanese 1%. At the 2016 census, 649,171 people, 2.8% of the total population, identified as being Indigenous Aboriginal Australians and Torres Strait Islanders. Languages of Australia. Although Australia has no official language, English is the de facto national language. Australian English is a major variety of a language, with a distinctive accent and lexicon, and differs slightly from other varieties of English in grammar and spelling. General Australian serves as the standard dialect. According to the 2016 census, English is the only language spoken in the home for 72.7% of the population. The next most common languages spoken at home are Mandarin, 2.5%, Arabic, 1.4%, Cantonese, 1.2%, Vietnamese, 1.2%, and Italian, 1.2%. Over 250 Indigenous Australian languages are thought to have existed at the time of first European contact, of which fewer than 20 are still in daily use by all age groups. About 110 others are spoken exclusively by older people. At the time of the 2006 census, 52,000 Indigenous Australians, representing 12% of the Indigenous population, reported that they spoke an Indigenous language at home. Australia has a sign language known as Auslan, which is the main language of about 10,112 deaf people who reported that they use Auslan language at home in the 2016 census.